Welcome to DirtTracksFreaks.com, the weekly podcast that's slinging dirt coming out of Turn 4, with your host and head freaks, Craig and Shawn. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at FreaksTracks, and on Facebook at DirtTracksFreaks. Freak Nation, it's time to get your freak on. Welcome, race fans, and thanks for joining us on DirtTracksFreaks.com. We're going to sling a little dirt here and talk a little dirt track racing. I'm your host, Shawn, and joining me now is Craig. How's it going today, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, man, we're going to talk a little dirt track racing. And right now, Craig, the center of the dirt track universe has been out in Arizona. Been a bunch of the regular, big time late model guys out there. Bobby Pierce had a chance to win some big money and kind of got away from him a little bit, but he was able to go out there and win 3 of the 6 races. Bloomquist looked like he had the final race in hand, till the last lap. My thoughts always is if you hit a parked vehicle, man, that one's on you. And that's exactly what Bloomquist did in the 6th and final race out there. But really some good racing. I think you got to see a little bit of it, on Dirt on Dirt. But what were your thoughts from the racing out there?
Well, it was the first time I watched it. I actually enjoyed it. That seemed like a fast track. Like you said, Pierce pretty much dominated the first 3 episodes. And Kate Dillard got his first win out there. So that was good to see a kind of a lesser power or whatever you want to call them, big non-big money team win a race. And then you had Ricky Weiss win 2 of the races, and then you had Bloomquist, like I said, come to the white flag as the leader. And then I don't know if it's dark on the track. I'm not going to blame anybody. He's running 100 miles an hour, so things come up fast. So
yeah, and matter of fact, we talked about that before we ever came on air, and we're not real sure where the lights are on that track as far as the caution lights go. Most tracks today have them on the outside, but I think we kind of come to the conclusion that the caution lights are on the inside of that track, and it may be just something that that Bloomquist wasn't used to. And like I said, the lighting in that place is not the best in the world, but like I said, he drilled that car that had spun out there in turn 3. But that's the way it goes. But I tell you, from the end of last year, those sweet Bloomquist cars really looked like they had come on and started giving Rocket a little bit of challenge there, and I think that trend is going to continue, Craig, because both Ricky Weiss with his sweet Bloomquist car 1-2, and then of course you had Bloomquist dominating, and here's in that final race, and I believe the first night, him and Pierce come to the line, and that was one of those photo finish kind of deals. So those guys have got those cars really dialed in, early in the season.
Yeah, definitely. The first race was, I don't know if it was foot 6 inches, but it was pretty close.
Yeah, it was definitely got to go to the transponder kind of deal on that one. But,
I think Bobby got tied up behind a lap car, and Bloomquist stuck it on the inside and almost got him, but not enough.
Yeah, it was a really, really good race. But I tell you, these guys out here are doing something really neat with this race. And I think you're going to see, Craig, more tracks go to this kind of format. If you look at Volusia, you look at what they do at East Bay, it's that week-long thing, and that's kind of what they're trying to do out there in Arizona. But nobody is slinging the kind of cash that these drivers, these guys have put together. And this Kaiser Manufacturing has come on board. And basically the way the format works is, you got a prize every night, $5-6 grand, whatever it is. I think the last race was a little bit more than that, 14. But if you can win 3 races, there's a $10,000 bonus. You win 4 races, there's a $25,000 bonus. You win 5 races, there's a $100,000 bonus. And if you could go out there and win all 6, man, you can walk away with $250,000. And that is some serious, serious coin. Now, the likelihood of it happening is probably pretty slim. But, man, what an opportunity for these guys to go out and have the opportunity to race for that kind of money.
Yeah. Bobby, after the first 3, should have went around and said, okay, let me win.
What I got to do, guys?
And we'll split the 150 amongst us.
Yeah.
Or that
would have been pretty good.
$250,000. I'm sorry, not 150. He could have bought them all dinner a couple of times. But
yeah, that would have been a pretty sweet deal. And like I said, I mean, he was sitting there at day 4, I think, winning that race, and then cut a right rear tire. And I know he just had to feel sick after that, because I think he was, I don't know, quarter track away, just running away with the race, and then all of a sudden, boom. Your tire goes down, but it is what it is, and I guess that's why these guys can take that risk to throw that big money out there to say, "Hey, listen, if you've you got a chance, to win it, but the likelihood is probably not that great." But
they're playing the odds that it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
I mean, we've been watching racing a long time. It's hard to win one of these races, much less 6 of them in a row. I mean, I know a team can hit on a setup and wax people, but those guys are going to catch up within 3 or 4 races.
Exactly. I mean, you go back to 15 when Davenport was in the 6 car, and they just kind of had it dialed in and had their way with everybody for a couple of months. And and Bloomquist hit a streak last summer where he got really, really hot and won some big money races. But you're exactly right. I mean, you know as well as I do, buddy, you can show up at a track, dominate one night, they come out there and dig that thing up, throw some water on it, and you go from first place to 20th like that. So it definitely, that's why everybody loves, dirt track racing.
Well, I think the only race that Bobby kind of struggled at is the day race, and I would assume that's an element thing or a setup thing. I'm no setup guy, so I'm sure there's some technical reasons why, but they definitely say it's definitely different racing during the daytime than it is at nighttime.
Well, you see that in NASCAR all the time, where those guys are, qualified during the day, and then all of a sudden the sun goes down, they got to race at night. I mean, it's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
But
they set it up tight during the day and it's loose at night. So, well, I was going to also, before we get off of the Wild West Shootout, I wanted to give a tip of the cap to Kyle Beard. I'd never heard of the guy, but I'm going to tell you, he was fast. I think he sat on the pole twice, won a heat race, and almost won, a feature. So,
right, and also
pretty good showing out there.
Right, and the Dillard guy as well. I mean, here he is, collecting a win. Not a big name, that you hear. He's not a big money guy. I mean, he's not, riding into the best equipment and with the rocket chassis and all that other stuff. Which I'm not sure what kind of chassis he drives, but still, he's not a factory kind of guy with with big money behind him, and he was able to go out there and get a win. So congratulations to him. So, but a couple of different things that are going to be changing. We've got some. The guys are going to be coming back to the East Coast here. And, of course, before you know it, here we're, basically 3 weeks away from the guys coming into Golden Isles here in Georgia in our neck of the woods. So that's going to be 2 great days of racing. And then you've got World of Outlaws are going to kick off the following weekend up in Scriven here in Georgia. And, of course, all the Lucas boys will be going down to East Bay. So we're fixing to get into the big season racing for the big time money and the big time, series and stuff. And should be a great series. But one of the things that we tweeted out about the other day, because I was kind of unaware of it, but Craftsman has actually left World of Outlaws and they picked up a new sponsor with Morton Buildings, and I think that's going to be a great tie-in for Morton Buildings to get into the racing community, because the one thing a racer's got to have is you got to have a shop. At some point he's got to have somewhere to work on his race car. So I think that's going to be a great tie-in for World of Outlaws, and should be some new blood into racing. So I'm really excited to see how they take that sponsorship and what they're able to do with their first year in. Yeah,
it's just, they said they had the number 1 tool and now they got the number 1 builder, but it's weird. And I don't mean that bad. It's just weird not saying Craftsman since they've been there so long.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know how long they've been the title sponsor of that series, but I can't remember when they were.
When you think of Craftsman, you see the big skeleton or whatever it is on the trucks when they pull in. So, but I'm sure Morton's will do a great job.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm excited to have some new blood in and see what they're able to do with it. And of course, our good buddies at Lucas Oil, they're continuing on with their great series. It's going to be another fantastic year. I think they've actually added a few races. I don't know where this thing stops, but I think now we're up from 55 to 60 something races, for the season. So I mean, it's going to be a grueling.
I don't know how they do it. I think it was 58 last year. I may be wrong, but 61 this year, I think, is the number.
Yeah, and I mean that is a grind.
That's a lot of commitment from these teams. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they seem to show up every week and put on a great show.
Yeah, we're going to be fortunate enough to be right here, right down the road here in Golden Isle Speedway in Brunswick, Waynesville, Georgia, here at the end of the month. I think that opened up that track on the 31st of January, where they're going to be doing practicing that night, and then the first night, Friday night, February the 1st, Saturday night, February the 2nd. No racing on Sunday the 3rd, and then they show up at East Bay in Tampa on Monday the 4th and race, I think it's 6 nights in a row. So should be some great racing right here in the South, and kick that Lucas Oil season off. And, of course, we all know what Josh Richards was able to do last year, winning the first 2 there at Golden Isles. And then, lo and behold, it goes the whole season, Craig, which is inexplicable how he does that. Never wins another race until the final race of the year.
Until the last one.
Until the last one. So he had
it was an important one. It was $100,000. So I guess if you're going to win one, that'll be $10,000 races throughout the year. But,
that's as good as 10 Saturday night $10,000 races. That's for sure. So, but it's going to be interesting. A lot of car changes this year. Especially when you're looking at the Lucas Oil Series and the World of Outlaws. Of course, Josh Richards probably the biggest name to jump ship. Going to go to drive for Clip Boyer Racing. It's going to be in that 14 car, the iRace car, and it's going to be interesting to see how he does. Running for that team, what kind of expertise he can bring, where they can come. If they can get that team back up to where. I'm sure. Clint Boyer wants it to be. So, it's going to be a interesting change there for sure.
Yeah, we all know Josh is a wheel man, so I think he can drive any car anytime. So, look forward to him in a new ride and see what he can do for Clint Boyer Racing. It's
going to be a good season, and then like I said, you got a couple other guys. Bobby Pierce come out of the Dunn Benson Ford, but doesn't look like he's missed a beat because he sure had his act together out there in Arizona. So it'll be interesting to see when he comes back this way. Of course, we got to see B-Shep run a little bit, but B-Shep was in his own stuff. He wasn't in the Rocket House car, so he'll be climbing back into that standard blue and white one car. So I'm sure he'll be ready for Speed Week's Super Bowl of motocross there in Brunswick, and then going on down to East Bay, because I know he loves East Bay. It seems like he wins down there pretty regularly.
Yeah. Another driver out of Georgia I have high hopes for this year is Brandon Overton in the Rum Runner car, number 2.
Yep.
I think he's going to have a great season. At the end of the year, I think he drove 3 or 4 different cars and put them all in victory lane. So I think if you get a team like that behind him, I think he could win easily. I don't know about 10 races, but I think he could win 6 or 7 this year.
Exactly. And then, of course, you're going to have your old standards. Jimmy Owens is going to still be in the 20.
Oh,
you still got our buddy down from Jacksonville, Earl Pearson Jr. still going to be in that number 1. Davenport, because Superman's still going to be in the 49. But a lot of stuff changed there behind the scenes for old Superman. Of course, he was able to win the championship for Lucas Oil last year, but this year he's going to be doing it with a little bit different structure behind the scenes there, as his crew chief decided to go run a little smaller, more limited schedule. He and Mike Marlowe are going to put a deal together, or have put a deal together, and I don't know how many races they're going to run, but they're not going to run the full schedule for either series.
I think that'll be a good matchup. He's going from one champion to another. So I just think, running those 58 races, I think guys get burned out, and you can't blame them. I mean, that's a long time to be away from your family.
Yep, you got to be a road warrior to
exactly. You got to love it, or you're not going to last long out there. I mean, that's
to make it in this business this day, you've got to love the road, that's for sure. But like I said, it's going to be some great racing. We want to invite all the freaks to come out to Golden Isles if you're in the area. We're going to have a little bit of swag to give away there for us. We're going to set up and do a couple of podcasts while we're at the racetrack. Like I said, that's going to be Thursday. We're going to get set up, and we'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then we're not going to be able to make the the direct run down to East Bay, but we will be there hopefully by Thursday, maybe even as early as Wednesday. If we can get some things worked out, we may be there on Wednesday, but we'll definitely be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday right there at the Clay by the Bay
Can't
to do
wait.
some more podcasts. Yeah, but I'll tell you, that was our first experience last year, hanging out down there for 3 days, and what a great trip it was. And if this one's half as good as that one, I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah, I put on Twitter to put that, everybody has bucket lists. If you've never been down there, I don't know how to explain it. It's nothing fancy. It's definitely not Charlotte.
Nope.
Hell, it's not even Brunswick, but
No.
I'm going to tell you what, if you like dirt racing, that guy does, I guess it's Al, I forgot his last name, but he does a hell of a job and puts on a hell of a show for
well, and you can tell the drivers just love that track.
Yeah.
There's so many lanes, and and it was funny. Every night it's a different racetrack.
Yeah.
Every night it's a different racetrack. The Thursday night we were there, they were rim riding. They were beating the right rear quarter panels, dragging those things around, just knocking the dirt off the wall. And then Friday night they were down low, and the bottom feeders were running good and winning races. And then Saturday you had the caution fest, but there were just grooves all over the place. And I think Dirt on Dirt Monday night's race down there, when it was, I forget what the 5/100ths of a second was the difference in the race, was voted as the best race of the year. So
got my vote.
Just some fantastic racing down there. If you haven't been to East Bay, definitely put it on your bucket list. If you can't do nothing but get down there for the Friday and Saturday night show, trust me, from wherever you're at to get there, it's worth it. It's
if you're within a 5-hour driving range,
load up and go.
Load up and go. It's worth it.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on our first podcast of DirtTracksFreaks.com. Appreciate everybody listening. Again, come on out and plan on joining us at Golden Isle Speedway for the Super Bowl of racing. Lucas Oil is going to kick off their series right there in Georgia, and we're going to do a little dirt track racing, as the old Tiny used to say, South Georgia style. So going to be a great weekend for racing. Then it's off to East Bay, back up to Bubba's, and then it'll be a little quick break till we shut her down. And I think a lot of those guys will hang out and go to Volusia, though, which will be a good week of racing there at Volusia after the sprint cars leave. Then the old late model boys will go in there and slinging around there a little bit.
Yeah, they get plenty of opportunities to race over 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, plenty of opportunities, and then it'll be the 500. Exactly. Then it'll be the 500 the weekend after that down in Daytona, and most of them will hang out right there and head on down and watch the big boys run around the big track. But hey, listen, tell your friends about our podcast. Listen to us at DirtTrackFreaks.com. Follow us on Twitter at FreaksTrack. And also Instagram. It's either one of those. Just type in Freaks Track. That's FREAKS Track, and go ahead and sign up and follow us there, and we'll keep you updated and share some great racing tidbits with you. And then, like I said, we'll be doing our show live here every week. Come on back. We'll be posting those shows on Tuesday by noon, and you can listen to them right here at DirtTrackFreaks.com. But appreciate you joining us. Until next time. Thanks for listening, Freak Nation. Join us here every Tuesday as we give you a new podcast right here on DirtTrackFreaks.com. Till next time, let the rough side drag.